Hey ho, hee ha ho, welcome to the channel, guys. Sorry for being a bit silly. That's a greeting that I used to have when I was with my cousin when we were younger. When we were young lads, we used to greet each other with that greeting. And actually, it's probably a good name for a channel. Hey ho, hee ha ho. Something silly, but look, excuse my silliness, guys. Basically, I got up early this morning. I got up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been watching some tennis from Roland Garros, and I haven't had enough sleep. But no excuses, we're here. We've got a Phoibos. It's been sent out to the channel to review. This is a brand new Voyager. It's the version 2. It's basically been changed. It's been upgraded. They've got a few modifications from a thinner profile, thinner lugs, a better bracelet, odds and ends. So we're going to have a good look at it today. So guys, stick around and let's check this thing out. Welcome back, guys. So as you can see here, we've got the brand new version 2 of the Phoibos Voyager. It's been sent to the channel. We don't have to send it back, but that's not going to influence my review. There have been quite a few changes that have been made to this watch, so we're going to try to address them today. Changes for the better, of course. And look, first and foremost, the watch itself, on first impressions when I first saw it, I thought to myself, well, it's interesting. It's a 300-meter dive style watch, but it has a GMT bezel. So identity wise, for me, it looked pretty much like a Yachtmaster, drawing its inspiration from a Rolex Yachtmaster, but without the pedigree. But then again, you're only paying 269 bucks, so it's not an expensive watch, but the finish, the detail, the quality construction, I think it's quite good. So, but let's get stuck into the watch's review. Let's get stuck into its specs. So we have a case diameter of 40mm. We have a case height of 14 millimeters. The lug to lug distance is 46 mil and a lug width of 20. So the only spec that has changed on that case is that height. That height now comes in at 14 mil. Originally it was pretty much closer to about 14.5, 14.9 mil. So it was a much thicker watch. Now it seems to be reduced in height, but not only that, if you have a look at the lugs are a little bit more streamlined as well. They seem to have lost weight or shaved down to a nice finer point. And you can see that from the case profile. On the side here, this used to be very slab-sided on the original version 1. Now it's straight, curved, straight. So they've shaved pretty much a little bit of metal on each side of the case, which is quite nice. So a more streamlined, a more balanced effect. So let's see how that translates onto the wrist. Okay, so that's how the watch sits on my 7-inch wrist, and as you can see, being a 40mm watch case, no problems. The lug to lug distance of 46mm, there's no overhang, even with the mailed end links, which seem to extend that distance to about 51mm. Again, I've got a big enough wrist to cater for that, so that's no issues. It's the case height that they've done all the work in. So as you can see, 14mm, it seems to sit quite nice. Being a dive style watch, something along those lines, no issues. We're to expect something from 13.5 to 14mm, so that's pretty cool. But they've also made some changes in that bracelet. Let's take this bracelet off and let's see what the improvements are. Okay, so as you can see, the bracelet on first inspection, it pretty much looks like the original, like the version 1. And you know what? It looks exactly the same because it is exactly the same, but they have made one small change, and I think a pretty good change. So the bracelet itself still is polished centers and brushed sides, high polish on the ends, but they've added the addition of screw pins. So now you can actually change out those links by a simple screwdriver. From the pin and collar system that they had, it's a lot easier, a lot more welcome. So that's a great change. The clasp itself, still the same good clasp, milled as you can see, double locking system with their logo. So that, you know, if it works, it works. There's no need to change it, and it still offers 3 micro adjustments. Getting back to the watch itself, guys, let's have a look at that sapphire crystal. The sapphire crystal is a double dome sapphire. It's got 3 layers of anti-reflective coating. I don't think they've changed anything there. It's doing a decent job, but in certain lighting conditions, you might wash out that dial. You might sort of lose it. So it's good, but it's not perfect. But again, you're paying $269 for a watch like this. Overall, I'm glad that it's sapphire, I'm glad that it's strong, robust, and it does have at least 3 layers of AR coating. There's a lot of companies out there offering sapphires without even 1 layer of AR coating, and we've seen that in the previous reviews. So looking at that bezel, guys, for me it reminds me of a Rolex Yachtmaster. Very similar sort of styling hues with its sandblasted finish, high polished markers. This particular one, like I said, it's a dual time zone or a GMT bezel, you know, markers 1 to 11. At the 12 o'clock we have a illuminated pip, so ideally you could use this as a timing bezel because of the fact that it's a unidirectional, not bi-directional, so it only turns in one direction. And if we, let me just turn this for you guys, if we were to get that pip to line up with a minute marker just there, as you can see, well, when that goes around and counts 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes or so, you could see the distance from there to there. You could ideally use it as a timer. So there's no other reference on the actual bezel that you could see in subdued light. There's no lumed reference. You'd have to use the actual markers on the dial itself. But look, for me, a slightly dual identity here, what it's trying to play at, whether it's a diving watch or whether it's a, you know, GMT travel watch. Again, you could possibly get away with using it as a diving watch. But the bezel itself, guys, for me, it's a little bit, I don't know if you noticed, when I went to grab it from here, very stiff. Very stiff, and that's, look, in part due to the fact that these lugs, the end links, they're basically, you know, 51mm, but they're also very high, so there's no real gripping space up here for me. That's why I had to turn the watch on the side and do it from here. So the action itself, nice and crisp. I can't see any noticeable back play, probably a tad a little bit, but let's see if it lines up. You know what, it's probably I'd say about 0.5 millimeter off. I'll try to go 1 over. Yeah, it's just out. So this particular copy that I have here doesn't seem to line up spot on. So I'll try it again. Oh, look, you know what? 1/4 mil. It's good, it's close enough, but it is about 1/4 mil to the right, and when I go one more click, it goes to about 1/4 mil to the left, so it is slightly out. That's something to note. Now looking at that dial, guys, it still features that beautiful sunburst grey, a really nice look in the hand. And again, I don't think videos do this particular watch justice. In the hand, this looks great. It's, for a better word, it's very blingy. There's a lot of bling coming off this watch, from the highly polished centers, the highly polished markers, the highly polished markers on the bezel, as well as the actual dial, and that sunburst effect. There's a lot of bling, and like I said, this seems to draw its inspiration from a Rolex Yachtmaster, but without the pedigree. But the clarity itself seems to be quite nice. Now, having the iron grey version here, as you can see, it's all neutral tone. There are 5 different colorways. There's the emerald green, the azure blue, there's a jet black, a sepia brown, and what I have here, the iron grey. And the reason I chose the iron grey, when they contacted me, I said, let me have a look at this, because I actually wanted to see how legible this watch was, being all monotone. And it works, but there are, you know, you might lose it in certain lighting situations. You might lose those hands, but it's an interesting look. It's quite a nice subtle monotone. I don't mind stainless steel color. It looks quite nice. So overall, a decent finish. Now the watch features an NH35 movement, strong, tested, robust. We'll unscrew the crown. As you can see, it's popped out by itself. 2 clicks and we've hacked the movement. As you can see, that seconds hand has stopped. We can adjust the time to wherever we want. There you go. We lock that in, second starts. A single click, and if you have a look at the date at 6 o'clock, we can adjust it. 4th, 5th, 6th, lock that in as well. The winding experience, your standard NH35, nice resistance, and the lockdown experience, we push it in, it latches on, nice and smooth, 300 meters of water resistance. Now looking back at that dial, the hands and markers are all highly polished, and they feature 15 layers of BGW9 Super Luminova. So is that pip at the top. So I'm going to give you guys a lume shot to have a look at. So as you can see, you've got a nice even glow. Those sword hands are nice and bright. The markers evenly loomed. Even that minute track has got nice blue lume, but that is the first thing that sort of fades. But a good legible experience nonetheless. Now, let's have a look at the back of the watch, and as you can see, the case back features the stamped King Octopus. It's clean, there's no hard edges to catch your hand on, nothing to annoy you, so that hasn't changed from the original, so it's very toolish, it does the job, it manages to maintain that 300 meters of water resistance. So what are some of the negatives of this watch if we had to nitpick? Well, look, you're paying $269, so it's not a great deal of money, so I'm not going to be too critical on the watch. What I can probably say, look, the weight, it comes in at 161 grams, sized up to my 7-inch wrist. Not too bad. Around the 150 mark is doable. 160, neither here nor there. The bracelet itself, I think, look, ideally there's no diver's extension. It could have been something that could have been added to this if it's going to be a real tool watch. But again, is it pretending to be a diver or a GMT? I don't know. It's sort of a split personality there, but that's my take. That's my personal opinion on the watch. It is a good looking watch. I think it does have a lot of bling, a lot of presence on the wrist. It really does look expensive, regardless of the price that you're paying. But at the same time, it actually is built quite well and finished quite well for the money you're paying. But look, at $269, the fact that they've got a 2-year warranty, they're backing their product, which is quite cool. I think the finishing of the actual watch is decent. It's up to par, which is no issues. If they can sort out those few quality control issues, and one of the major ones for me is the stiffness of this actual bezel. It is stiff. Obviously the model that I have here almost lines up, but the stiffness is more important to me. I think trying to turn that is, yeah, quite an experience. But that's one of the things, and possibly maybe a couple more coats of AR coating on that sapphire crystal. But apart from that, guys, $269. I'll leave the links in the description. I wanted to share a few thoughts on this. What do you think? For those who've had the version 1 of this particular watch, feel free, comment, leave me your thoughts. What do you think of the upgrades? Are they worth it? Do you have issues with your particular model if you've got this watch being the version 1? Is it heavy? Is it cumbersome? Is it top heavy, too thick? But there you go, guys, the Phoibos Voyager version 2. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next video.